Hi guys, so I've now been trying out the new MacBook Air M3 for a while, so I thought we would do a little review. I'll also be comparing it to the MacBook Pro, which I've been using for so many years. I have to say, I'm definitely more of a MacBook Pro person. Like, I've been loving my MacBook Pro, so I was kind of not sure about the MacBook Air. I thought it would kind of disappoint, but I have to say I love the MacBook Air M3 for multiple reasons. But first, let's touch on what I'm missing. The biggest thing is the touch bar that the MacBook Pro has. So my MacBook Pro 2019 model has the touch bar, which is just what it sounds like. It's a mini screen on the keyboard that you can use for adjusting the audio, the brightness, basically like control a bunch of things from your MacBook. You can also start Siri from this. You can actually use the touch bar to type an emoji, which is really cool. So you can like scroll through all the different emojis. I really like this feature and I'm really missing it from the MacBook Air because the MacBook Air it's never had a touch bar. I feel like this is really one of the features that makes the MacBook Pro a pro. And also something really cool you can do with the touch bar is if you're on calendar, you can actually switch between all the years with the touch bar. Like, it takes you not even a second jumping between different years. But yeah, you can also see your different categories in calendar, such as school, so you can check all of that through the touch bar as well. So obviously this isn't the biggest deal because you can still obviously do everything on the MacBook Air that you can do on the MacBook Pro with the touch bar. You can still obviously adjust audio brightness, you can still type emojis. You just can't do it with the touch bar. So yeah, let me know if anyone else has used a MacBook Pro and then switched to a MacBook Air. Are you missing the touch bar? Because I really am. So on the MacBook Air, instead of the touch bar, you have the different audio controls and brightness controls. You also have the F6 key, which has a little like moon on it. And with this, you can actually put the MacBook in focus mode. This is something I really like because it gives you like such a good shortcut to putting your MacBook in focus mode. Other than that, the keyboard design is obviously very similar. I would say the MacBook Air keyboard has kind of a softer press than the MacBook Pro. It feels really nice actually typing on the new MacBook Air. These keyboards actually sound a little bit different when typing on them. So that was the MacBook Pro. And then listen to this. I don't know, to me, this just sounds better. And also the trackpad is a bit smaller on the MacBook Air than the MacBook Pro. On the MacBook Air, the keys actually light up when you start up the MacBook, which is not a thing on the MacBook Pro, or at least my model. Pretty sure all new MacBooks have this feature. But yeah, I really like that they implemented this not only to the MacBook Pros, but also the MacBook Air. It just gives a bit of a cool effect. These MacBooks both also have a Touch ID right here in the right corner. The MacBook Air Touch ID just looks a little bit different from the MacBook Pro Touch ID. It's kind of just part of the touch bars. Okay, so before we move on, I just want to show you my office chair I'm currently sitting on, presented by this video sponsor, Habata. This is the Habata E3 ergonomic office chair, and it solves the problem of waist pain, neck pain, and shoulder pain from sitting down for too long. According to their study, the average person spends 1/4 of their life sitting down, which is so crazy. I know I spend hours of sitting every day, so this chair is made for working, for students, doing schoolwork, and gaming. Anyone can benefit from this chair because first of all, we have a 3-zone floating wing lumbar support, which supports the lumbar spine and muscles. This is adjustable both front and back and from top to bottom. So no matter if you are short like me or very tall, you can adjust this chair to fit you perfectly, and you can actually also rotate this inward or outwards. So this all prevents waist pain, but then this chair also prevents neck pain because we have this 4D double axis neck pillow. You can adjust this 6 centimeters up and down and also rotate it 45 degrees, 5 centimeters front and back. It just really gives comfortable support for your head and neck. And then you also have these 6D mechanical armrests. Often when we're working, we have our elbows like too high up or too low, which puts our shoulders in really uncomfortable positions. But with the armrests on this chair, you can adjust them in multiple directions. You can make them higher or lower, so you can align these perfectly with your desk. And not only that, but you can also adjust these backwards. So for example, if you are on your phone, instead of bending your wrist like this, you can just rest your arm. It gives you really good support. This also gives really nice support while reading a book. You can actually tilt this chair backwards and put it in rest mode. And then also, of course, if you want to adjust the chair down or up, you can also do that. And then also, as you can see, this material is kind of see-through, so it's really breathable. So yeah, with this chair, I don't feel bad for sitting and working for hours, and most importantly, I feel really comfortable sitting. So yeah, if you want to check out this ergonomic office chair, I will link it in the description. Okay, so I don't know if you can hear this right now from the camera, but one of these MacBooks is making a noise. I'm gonna see if you can guess which one it is. I don't know if you can actually hear it, but it is the MacBook Pro making a noise, and I barely started using it. Like, that's one thing with the MacBook Pro, it really easily heats up and makes a loud noise. But with the MacBook Air, I actually haven't noticed that anything. But anyways, let's talk about the design of this MacBook. So first of all, if you get a MacBook Air, it's probably because you want the more lightweight option, and that's something I really appreciate being a MacBook Pro user. Anytime I'm taking my MacBook Pro out, especially because this is a 15-inch MacBook Pro, every time I'm taking it out, whether it's traveling or literally just going to a cafe, I feel like I'm struggling every single time to bring my MacBook with me, because first of all, this is really heavy. This MacBook is 1.8 kilograms, which honestly doesn't sound like a lot, but it feels really heavy when you're carrying it in a bag. So with the MacBook Air, since it's a 15-inch, it actually isn't that big of a difference. I thought it was going to be a bigger difference, but if you do want a lightweight MacBook, you should probably just go for the 13-inch, because this is about 1.5 kilograms. Like, you can definitely feel the difference, but if you're carrying it in a bag, it's barely gonna make a difference. Wait, this is actually so heavy. Guys, I don't know how to explain to you that 300 grams is a lot, because it doesn't sound like a lot, but this just immediately feels so much heavier in my bag. This, I mean, it's still heavy, but it's not as bad. So yeah, the MacBook Air has a very modern design, and I think also what's making it look so modern is this midnight color, because the keyboard just kind of blends into the rest of the MacBook, and it's just a very luxury color. I think it looks very classy. I don't think the MacBook Pro looks as good, even though this is also a really nice color. And also, if we close down the MacBook Air, it is so quiet. It literally makes like no noise. But if we close down the MacBook Pro, it makes a pretty loud noise. Also here you can clearly see the size difference. Regarding fingerprints, I know the MacBook Air M3 is a little bit upgraded, because apparently the M2 MacBook used to get a lot of fingerprints, especially on the darker colors, and you can definitely still see fingerprints on this. I mean, I don't think it's as bad as I thought it was gonna be. Obviously, you can only see it in like really good lighting. And also, if you look at the MacBooks like this, the MacBook Air doesn't look thinner than the MacBook Pro. So this is comparing from the side, and I don't know about you guys, but I really can't tell a difference. I don't think the MacBook Pro looks thicker, but like if you lay down a book, you can see a tiny little difference, but honestly it's not much. But if you look at the MacBooks from above, even though both of these are a 15-inch, the MacBook Air is actually a bit smaller. Like, you can clearly see right here. So the screen size is the same, and that's because we have thinner frames on the MacBook Air compared to the MacBook Pro. Like, I think here you can clearly see the MacBook Pro frame is a lot thicker. However, when opening up the MacBooks, you can actually see that the MacBook Air looks a lot thinner. Or, I mean, it's not a lot, but you can clearly see it actually. The MacBook Air has a little notch up here, which the MacBook Pro doesn't have. So you can see there's just black space here. Okay, so right now we're in full screen calendar. So you can see the black bar up here. And if we do full screen calendar on the MacBook Air, the notch actually disappears, so you can't even see it. I kind of expected the MacBook Air for the screen to also go around the dynamic island, or in this case, the notch up here. So I thought the screen would actually go all the way up here, but they obviously look the same. So it's really hard to show, but the MacBook Air has a really flat design. Like the surface is just flat. Meanwhile, the MacBook Pro is actually a little bit rounded right here. So actually you can see the edges look thinner than the MacBook Air, but then it gradually becomes thicker. And I also think the battery life of this MacBook is really good. I've now had the MacBook Air on for a while, just watched some YouTube and gone through like different apps, and it's still at 100%. So I don't know if it's because it's an improved battery from the MacBook Pro or because it's a new laptop, but the battery is definitely really good. Okay, so let's also talk about storage, because this MacBook has 256 gigabyte, which my MacBook Pro also has, and a lot of people apparently don't think 256 gigabyte is enough, which I do agree with, because I do a lot of video editing. If I'm not using a hard drive, I'm really struggling with my 256 gigabyte, because you also have to consider like applications are taking up a lot of space, and then just files by themselves in the editing program. So I think the upgrade for additional storage to 512 gigabyte on the MacBook Air is like $200. And honestly, I would say it's worth it. But I've also been using a hard drive for my MacBook Pro for years, which is like 2 terabytes or 4 terabytes. And honestly, I've gotten around just fine with that, so I don't feel like it's necessary. However, a lot of people who are getting the MacBook Air are students getting it for university or school, and then I definitely think 256 gigabytes is enough, because you're probably not going to keep that many files on your MacBook. And if you need additional storage for like photos, like all your school files, just get a hard drive for like $50. Okay, now if we talk about performance, the screen is very clear, crisp, and it does everything I've tried using it for, like studying, watching YouTube, video editing, FaceTiming, planning my days, answering emails. Like, it does all of that. And I'd say it feels much faster than the MacBook Pro. The MacBook Air does have the M3 chip. Meanwhile, this MacBook Pro only has an Intel chip. But obviously today you could also get a MacBook Pro with the M3 chip. Yeah, so you can definitely feel the M3 MacBook being just faster. Every little click just goes a bit faster. It's kind of like using the iPhone 15 Pro Max and then going back to an iPhone 12. It's gonna feel just a bit laggy, so it's definitely very enjoyable to work on and also edit, because when editing you want everything to move pretty fast. Also, just to show you the difference in quality on the camera, if you are FaceTiming or if you are on webcam, this is the MacBook Pro. Obviously not very good. But this is the MacBook Air. It's super clear. I don't know why there's a little lag. I don't know if you can see it, but the camera is super good. Definitely good enough for FaceTiming and being on video calls. Like, I wouldn't be embarrassed to be on a business call with this camera. So yeah, great for business calls, and also if you're a student doing like Zoom meetings. This is actually really a representable camera. Let's do a final review. I've always been a fan of the MacBook Pros, but with this one I have to say I really like it. The only thing I'm really missing is the touch bar, but other than that I would switch to this MacBook in a second. So yeah, let me know what you think about this MacBook, and I hope this little review helped. Bye!